check it out. I'm a bit of a reluctant speaker. I do not consider myself an expert by any means. What I can offer you is this. I'm in the hospitality industry, and across Cape Cod there's an awful lot of restaurants, the vast majority of which are currently operating under limited hours. They're either closing early during the day, they're only open 5 days a week, that sort of thing. For 36 years, we've been able to operate lunch and dinner 7 days a week without any interruption at all. So, I mean, if that's success, I guess maybe I have some insight, and that's all I have to offer you today is what my experience has been. You're going to hear again. I'm going to pretty much echo what several of the previous speakers have said, but hopefully a little bit more on a granular level. First and foremost, Cape Cod is often seen as a seasonal place, but quite frankly, I think my biggest piece of advice is to stop thinking seasonally. It's simply a business fluctuation. I mean, other industries, other places around the country have ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and we should not be responding perpetually to the off season. I think it's a real dangerous thing. Again, the cycle is referenced about the idea of perpetually recruiting, having to train, bring people up to speed, and then downsizing over and over and over again. I think it's a huge mistake. I think what I'm talking about is trying to invest in our labor force. Hire them up, get the people that you need into place, get them trained, and hold on to them. It sounds like a huge waste, perhaps, of carrying people in the off-season, but less and less does Cape Cod have an off-season. And quite frankly, I see it as an investment in that labor force. We talk about cross-training is first and foremost. If you're going to lose people occasionally, it's good to have more than one person in your business that is capable of doing multiple jobs. Perpetual recruitment. I can't tell you how many times I've had managers who said, okay, we're fully staffed, we're all set, we're ready to go. No, keep hiring, keep looking at least. Not necessarily adding all the time, but when that ideal candidate comes along and it's January and you think they'd be a perfect fit, we just don't need you right now. Yes, you do. Now is the time to hire them. Hire them right away, bring them up to speed, carry them. And again, it sounds like a waste, but the fact is the cost of that recruitment, the cost of training, the cost of inefficiencies. I should mention, I've got quite a few staff members that have been with me anywhere from 20 to 35 years each. I don't believe in turnover. I like to carry them. I can't tell you how efficiently things operate. I don't have to be at work right now because I've got people who can run things for me. They're very, very competent. So then the question is, what do you do during the downtime? What do I do in the off season? Well, quite frankly, what is often referred to as building the bench. Again, cross-training is part of it, but part of it is also maybe getting projects done. We often hear about, and I mean, getting projects done might be something as simple as having people doing something outside their job description. And I've got line cooks who want the hours, and they're happy to clean equipment. They're happy to paint the walls. They're happy to do whatever it is to get their hours. And I would suggest to you, anybody that wants to work a 40 or more hour week, they are happy to do and maintain the operation in that way if they can get those hours. And you get a lot of projects done that you're going to pay for down the road anyways. So again, using for other things. As I say, cross-training was a huge issue. Building the culture. The downtime is when you build that culture. And whether that's giving people an opportunity for advancement, whether that's giving them an opportunity to train for other things, whether it's having staff events, whether it's conducting those reviews and having those conversations with your staff, talking about the work, having staff parties. I mean, there can be any number of things, and it doesn't have to be all at once. It might be that engagement that you have one-on-one. I am all about culture creation and managing the culture. I always love the Peter Drucker thing about culture eats systems for breakfast, and it's absolutely true. If you don't, I'm not going to say you don't need systems. We need things in place, but culture really is what manages everything. Competitive compensation was suggested earlier. I'm a firm believer in not having people out shopping for the jobs just for an extra $1 an hour. I would warn, however, against the idea of getting into bidding wars. It is not uncommon to have a seasonal operation open on the Cape where they suddenly are offering 20 to 25% more for the same job, and it would be easy to lose people to that. Or it would be easy to get into competition and say, okay, I'll match it, but there are prices to be paid down the road. Instead, what I would suggest is maybe a seasonal bonus that's paid out at the end of the seasons that helps pay for it. That way you're not perpetually signed into that higher level, that higher pay. You're not paying OT on some of that stuff. But more importantly, I think it is, again, going back to that, building that culture, getting a sense of belonging and communicating that. I've got a lot of what I would consider, and I think a lot of my staff consider, a lot of huge unwritten benefits. And I'm not talking about 401ks necessarily, although we have that, or insurance. I'm talking about the flexibility of scheduling, we have free meals, we have training, flex time, we have consistency of business. I keep people fully employed on the Cape straight through the year, and there's a guarantee of that. Most of my staff have fairly new cars, a lot of them have mortgages, they make a decent living for Cape Cod. And it's also a lot of fun to work at Chicago. And I think it's important to communicate that. I think sometimes when somebody is looking at an extra couple of bucks an hour for the summer months, it looks attractive. But if I'm perpetually communicating and reminding them and showing them that this is a good place to work, a fun place to work, a place that has other, again, unspoken benefits, I think it's important and keeps them going. But beyond the money, creating that culture, huge part, the respect, creating a culture of respect. I can't tell you how many people have come to me having left jobs because they didn't have that. Giving people agency and opportunity, a sense of belonging, as I say, that constant engagement, and getting to know your staff. And if you can't do it, I've got 75 employees. I don't necessarily know what's going on in every single one's day, but I've got managers who I am coaching and encouraging, and they know what's going on. So there's, on some level, there's a sense of belonging. We recognize things like birthdays and anniversaries and special events. Reduce stress. I create an environment where I listen to my staff and hear what it is that's going to impact their daily life, their daily jobs, and I try and make those changes. That's one of those things that I tell them. When it's time for them to, if they're thinking about going to another job, they're thinking, oh man, I don't want to have to start a whole new job all over again. I'm comfortable here. I like it here. It is not a high stress place to work. But let's talk about, that's talking about retaining people. And again, I do believe that's the key aspect, is to retain them as long as you possibly can. But occasionally we've got to do some recruitment. Partnering with other businesses. I'm open lunch and dinner. The local B&B only needs chambermaids in the morning. There's a wedding planner who only needs them on weekends. I'll take them during the middle of the week. Bounties to current staff. I offer a bounty to anybody who will help mentor. Bring somebody in, mentor them, and if that person's still there, I pay a cash bonus out. They know who's good. Invite clients to recruit, meaning I've actually sent an email out to 30,000 of my customers to say, do you have anybody that you know, any place you go and you'd like to have them wait a year in our environment? I've gotten some great referrals from some of my customers. An anonymous survey. This can be done on social media, this can be done in the press, it can be done in a number of ways. Creating a little survey, if you will, industry survey, and sending it specifically to and targeting the type of people that I would want to work for me. They basically respond to those surveys. I now have a contact of somebody that's in the industry that might be interested in changing jobs. Changing your hiring criteria was already mentioned. Attitude over experience, not necessarily just looking at the resume, but looking at their potential. Maybe changing the length of commitment, not necessarily requiring somebody to be year-round. Maybe somebody's only available for the next 4 months. Well, I do it in the summer. Why wouldn't I do it in the off-season? Part-time versus full-time, job sharing, all of those options are possibilities. I've got a lot of school teachers that work for me that were just a part-time job for them, but they're with me for many, many years. Sourcing other industries. The Great Resignation is a fact. It happened. Huge number of people migrated out of hospitality, and they continue to. However, there are a number of people who are tired of banking, they're tired of retail, they're tired of all sorts of other industries that might be comparable to my industry, and so as a result, they're looking for something different. They're coming to me. Conditions that are beyond our control, certain things, and you're going to hear more about this, there's certain things that we can't prevent. Housing is a huge issue. I lost a couple of people very recently who moved off Cape. They couldn't find the housing. And yet, is there something that we can do about it? I purchased housing about 20 years ago, right next to my restaurants. I do not necessarily recommend that. Do you want to get into property management? Probably not. It's a whole nother career. And as Lisa and I have suggested, it can be an unhealthy relationship, but at times it's actually served me extremely well. Pre-arrange rentals for people, ADUs. I've got a lot of customers, elderly customers with big houses. They've got extra space in their house, and if I've already pre-screened these people, I've had people who I've made arrangements with who would love to have a young person in their house and help offset their costs. And this is a big lobbying for local action. There's a lot of things that need to change about the housing market, and if we want it to change, we've got to be vocal about it. And that's down at the town level, changing zoning, those sorts of things. So anyways, I think I've mentioned this, lifestyle shifts. We really have to rethink who's an acceptable applicant and being able to be willing to invest in those people. Support and encourage. Make it easier to return and not leave entirely. In the past couple of years, I had people who changed careers. 2 of them wanted to become yoga instructors. That was great for them. I support them. But ultimately they said, I still need to supplement, so they ended up migrating back. I've had people who've moved off Cape but ultimately migrated back. So I would say, support people, so, help them move on to whatever it is they're going to do. I've got a guy who just went to the fire academy, but he's going to continue to work for me now that he's finished it. Health. I lost a tremendous number of people, totally unexpected. A broken knee, a broken foot. One guy who stopped to take full-time care of an elderly parent. Quite frankly, I believe in overhiring. When you think you've got enough staff, hire some more because the attrition is going to happen anyways. I believe in overhiring to some degree. You've got building your bench. You carry them, it'll pay dividends later. That you're not running. I mean, the fact that I'm not paying as much OT because I've got enough. Well, I'm not over using the people that I do have. So, finally, year-round and retention is the thing to focus on. Work on your culture, be more flexible, and have a little insurance by hiring a little bit more heavily when you get the chance. Thanks.
Nice.